Right. So this is not something that you wanted to load. Okay, keep it. So if you load it, what really happens is the Excel becomes heavy. So I would say, while if I delete this, the tab here, CWS 360, right? Okay. So yeah, now this moves to connection only. Okay, that is what we need. Okay. So create a new connection. Yeah. New query again. Mhm. Okay, now we need to combine this. Perfect. And then we don't load to. Right. So, but why did we have this the login date and the others? Do you want to change that and then recreate the append?
Say that again?
So the date added, lost login ID, menu name, and carrier ID. I think those are not required. So what you could do is either you could do it at 3 places in all at once, or maybe you could simply change it in the append query itself. So go to the append query, edit that. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. And and can we do this? Can we create a pivot on top of this? Not directly on this data, but from the query itself. But from the query. Okay, so this is all done. Okay, that's that's good. And in terms of okay, let's do this. So there are few of the things that I would want to let you know on the for pivot, like pivoting the data and pivoting the data. Okay, there are few of the exercises. Maybe I can share that with you tomorrow, first thing tomorrow. Okay. So what happens is in the data, okay, maybe if you can go to your ServiceNow tickets, data, if you can open that file up. Okay, here, if you go towards right, okay, I was just checking if you have any specific data as such, that you can manipulate that. Okay, can you slightly go towards right? it then closed, and oh, that's it. Okay, okay. So this wouldn't have that information. Okay. Usually, you understand what the flat files are, Mani?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So on the flat files, okay, assuming I have a country, I have a business, and in the columns I have say Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, kind of a thing, right? I have 12 columns, right? So if my numbers are in multiple columns, which means that my measures are in multiple columns, I'll not be able to, clearly visualize that, or maybe do kind of a pivots in a much more easier way. Okay. I would want them to be in two columns. One, the first column would identify which month it is, and the second identify what is the number of that it is. Okay, maybe there could be increase in the rows. However, when I pivot this information, that's going to be quite easy for me. Okay, and that's going to be the data is going to be much more linear. So that's called unpivoting data in the Power Query language. Okay, so that's something that we will talk about it tomorrow with some working examples onto it, and you get used to this Power Query as well. Hope this is useful, Anik.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And quickly, 10 minutes before I went up, and quickly going through what we have learned today, what we have seen. We have gone through the basics of the access and the version 16, and we have gone through the object library, and what are the references that needs to be enabled. Why, and also we talked about why it needs to be enabled, because calling of the objects and etc. that needs a specific a dependent references. If that is enabled, only then the macro would run. Okay, so that's one primary thing that we have seen. Second is in terms of quick snippets, quick codes, where we would want to see how we run with each of these macros, and uh, how each of, while running a macro, what are the prerequisites for any of our um, query and any of our processes. Okay, what does the first step do? What is the second step? What is the third step? Right. So in short, everything that you do on the Access or on the Excel or any of the application is an event. Okay. For every event, we could write an VB scripting. Okay. So VB scripting is nothing but basically automating, streamlining your tasks or running the tasks in sequence, that helps you to be productive, which is like redundant and
Mhm.
redundant activities and so on. So the thing is, there are quite a few of it, where we try to make it repetitive. And in Access especially, we use these macros when there are series of steps that you need to run in parallel. And one by one, without changing the alteration, without altering the order, right? That's where the VBS scripting that could be of help to you, and even to be part of a control step as well. Okay, so that's something that we have seen in running, in deleting the query and appending the ESI queries to the Access database. Okay, once while that is done, we also looked at various ways to filter out the data, and we also have looked at the application calls and do command set warnings calls. So those are a few of the codes and snips that we have to enable or disable the specific warnings or the pop-ups, or whatever you get it from the Access, it's going to be warnings and alerts. Okay, so if it's an application that shows an alert, and if an application that shows a warning, so both looks like a pop-up, but both are different, right? So alert is something that's still okay, but warning is something that you definitely wanted to check and then proceed on. Okay, alert can be, either of the way it is going to pass. Just showcasing the user that, hey, look, that this is what is going to happen. Right? Do you want to proceed with that? Like replacement of the cells that we see. Okay, so that's that. And while coming to the Power Query, this is where it's going to be useful to us, because if you have a multiple series of steps that you need to do and kind of import and then make your checks and so on, while Access offers a specific unique set of usability, Power Query gives you, a certain set of power where we don't see the access coming up to curve on that. Okay, so the Power Queries are used to combine, to append, to merge, to join, and we could also use Power Queries, Power Pivots, and even the pivot charts. In the regular database, using the regular data, that will keep on appending, updating it on the fly. So this is going to be really useful functionality when you have some update to the Excel file and you would want to refresh that at on a real-time basis, without really importing and then doing it. So this is the primary difference between that Power Query and the Access is, in Access, when you run a query, it only runs on the data that is already imported onto the table, onto the Access database. However, in Power Query, when we run some kind of table, right, some kind of query or refresh the query, that's going to be refreshing the entire inputs of the data, and it's going to give you these output steps as per your selection. And the Power Query comes in formats of the steps that you have. Okay, the previous steps. You could undo the steps, and you can simply by clicking on it. We can talk more about it tomorrow, and a few more examples onto it. So that's primary thing, difference between Access and Excel. And every time that you refresh, the input would go through, the data would go through all the steps that you have created, and it reaches to the final step. Remember, there is one thing or one specific observation is that, assuming one of the data field isn't available, this is going to be limitation even in Access database as well. So if the field name is not available in the Excel, then the Power Query would not run. It would give you an error message. Of course, the same goes with the Access as well. That would give you an error message. But remember, anywhere, if the field placement is changed, then there's not going to be any problem with the Excel Access or Excel, and that's going to be a common. So these are the primary things that we have covered, and I'd like to really look forward for any other examples that you have tomorrow. Else we'll go through the VBA and also the portion of the Power Queries as well as part of the advanced Excel. Okay, is there any application, Monique, that you use as part of the Microsoft Suite that you think you need help on, like Visio, or it could be project, MS Project, where you have these diagrams, or it could be SharePoints or anything, or do you use Power BI? So if you want to touch upon any of the topics as well related to the automations, using from MS Access, we can have that discussed as well tomorrow at a high level.
Cool.
Cool. So do you have any questions or any comments, any feedback, Monique?
No, today was great.
Cool. Happy to hear that. And let's connect tomorrow at the same time. Okay. And if there is anything that you wanted to bring to my notice, that you're having any difficulty on any of the codes, or maybe you're practicing it later part of the day, and if you want to bring it up to me for any kind of questions, okay, feel free. We can have that first 30 minutes, 40 minutes discussion on the queries that you have, and then we can move on to the session.
Excellent.
Cool. Cool. So that's all I have, Monique, for today, and we'll open it up for questions Q&A. I think I've asked it, but if you have any, if not, we can call it.
I'll probably have some for you tomorrow.
That's good. Good to hear that. Good to hear that, Monique. Let's clear that out. And even in the forms, the ones that we're looking for the search kind of thing. So usually, what I've done is it's on the form, where I key in that information on the form, it gets displayed. So for you, what I'll do is I'll try to give you a kind of a pop-up, where that comes up as part of the with a macro itself, where you could simply select that number on the pop-up window, and then if you done an OK, that's where it's going to give you that record. That's quite easily doable thing. So I can do that as well as part of in continuation to this session.